closed captioning provided by Beaufort County.
Welcome to another episode of Coastline. I am your host, Christopher Ophardt, Public Information Officer for Beaufort County. And today we're here with a very special guest, Senator Tom Davis, representative of the 46th District, Senate District, here in Beaufort. He has lived here for over 37 years, graduated from Furman University in 1982, and also is a law degree from the University of Maryland in 1985. Senator Davis, welcome. How are you doing today?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, let's just jump right in this. You've held various positions within the state. You worked for the governor, and then also finally ran for re-election here in District 46. What made you want to run for public office?
Yeah, well, I got involved in politics, really. My former friend from Furman, well, actually still my friend, but I met him at Furman, Mark Sanford, ran for governor in 2002, and he convinced me to take a leave of absence from my law practice to run his gubernatorial campaign. So I took a 9-month leave of absence from my law firm and moved into his basement on Sullivan's Island. And I ran his campaign for governor, and he ended up winning. And then I went back to my law practice. But after having worked on his campaign and talked about issues that were important to the state, it was driving me crazy that he was up there in Columbia actually working on those things. So I went to my law partners in 2003 and asked them for another extended leave of absence. And so I joined his administration. I began as his senior policy advisor, and then I ended up over a period of years becoming his chief of staff. So in 2008, when the Senate seat for District 46 was open, I ran for that office and won the primary against the incumbent. Won the general election, and I've been in the state Senate ever since. So I've been there 13 years, and I'm entering my 14th year in the state Senate.
Oh, well, congratulations. I think it's been very beneficial to Beaufort County and Jasper County to have you as an elected official. So we just got through redistricting. Local Beaufort County just approved their map after some things, and it looks like you're moving. The district is shifting south of the river. Is that correct?
Yeah. What's happened? Every 10 years we have a census, and then districts and seats are realigned to conform with the population growth. And what we've seen in Hilton Head, Bluffton, Sun City, Hilton Head has been disproportionate growth relative to the rest of the state, which means that southern Beaufort County, and by that I mean the portion of the county south of the Broad River, Hilton Head, Bluffton, Sun City, Hilton Head, has enough people in it, 110, 115,000 people, to have its own Senate district. So currently, I've got all of southern Beaufort County and also the city of Beaufort. Couldn't keep the city of Beaufort because of the population growth. So since 95% of my constituents are south of the Broad River, sometime between now and 2024, when I will run for re-election, I'll have to take up residence in the southern part of the county. The city of Beaufort itself is going to become part of Chip Campson's district, which reaches down from Charleston down into Beaufort. And then the northern part of Beaufort County, the northwestern part of Beaufort County, Libico, Sheldon, Yemassee, that will become part of Senator Margie Bratt Matthews' district. So that's kind of what I foresee happening, but we'll have to wait and see.
And based on the reports that I read, it was pretty much bipartisan support for the Senate map. I mean, I think you even had a number of Democrats vote for the map as well. So this wasn't as controversial as
No, I mean, the numbers are what they are.
Right.
And it's I was happy to see that in my district, we were able to maintain a solid community of interest. I mean, I think Hilton Head, Bluffton, Sun City, Hilton Head, and to some extent, southern part of Jasper County, which I'll also pick up, that is a definite community of interest. They have shared values, they have shared economic concerns, shared environmental concerns. So it's a very homogeneous district from that standpoint. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited, actually.
All right. Well, as a 20-year Army veteran, do you need any tips on moving?
Well, I mean, things are just so hot in real estate right now. There's not much inventory and a lot of people chasing after it. So I'm going to have to find some place in southern Beaufort County. I mean, ideally, I think somewhere in Bluffton. So, it'd be centrally located in my district. So I'm accessible to all people throughout the district. So, but that's definitely something I have to do in the months ahead.
Yeah. Not a camper.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. All right. So building on that, I've read some of your things on your website, and it seems like South Carolina really has positioned itself to be friends to the military community, and to veterans. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and some of the work that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, and actually over the years, I've been a part of efforts, local community efforts, to fight back against BRAC closure efforts. You got the air installation, you got Parasol Marine Corps Depot, and we do a good job every time there is a round of BRAC closure hearings to argue about why these are effective, efficient bases. But what I've learned in the legislature is that at the margins, when you get right down to deciding, the Pentagon decides and Congress decides which bases to close, there are certain things that can tip the scale in your direction. And if you're a state that has adopted military-friendly provisions, to make it easier for military families, to make it easier for them to go back to work or back to school, then at the margins, that's going to benefit you. So the Pentagon and the Congress have published 10 quality of life measures that if a state adopts it, it will be viewed favorably by the BRAC Commission. We've accomplished all 10 of those, and I've really enjoyed working with my delegation colleagues, because Beaufort County, the military is incredibly important to us here, especially in northern Beaufort County. The percentage of the economy that it drives is above 50%. So I feel like we've done a really good job of making our case, but we can't rest on our laurels. We have to continually make that case, continually do things that will strengthen our hand, not if, but when a new round of BRAC closures comes.
Yeah, it seems like I've worked in the Pentagon for 4 years, so it seems like always the buzzword. And I think it helps having Senator Graham is a big advocate. And then some of the congressional delegation as well is very supportive, and then what the state has done as well. And as a veteran.
It's a collaborative effort. I mean, and we've been through 2 BRAC closure hearings so far, rounds, and federally, state level, locally, the community comes together. But the important thing is, Chris, is that you don't wait till the last moment. You go ahead and you do the things now. Preparing now is going to put us in a better position later. So I feel very confident about where we stand in that regard.
And I think one of the things that the military community talks a lot about is, job opportunities for their spouses in some way or shape or form. So that kind of goes right into the next thing. Congratulations on being named chairman of the Labor, Commerce, and Industrial Committee.
Yeah, that's, a really important development. Labor, Commerce, and Industry Committee has tremendous subject matter jurisdiction. I became chairman because of the dominoes that started to fall once the finance chairman, Hugh Leatherman, died about a month ago. He was finance chair for about 30 years. And so with his death, the presiding officer, the president of the Senate, Harvey Peeler, decided he wanted to become finance chairman because he's next in line. So that created a vacancy in the president's office. Thomas Alexander, a senator from Oconee County, was chairman of Labor, Commerce, and Industry, and he was elected to become the new president, which created a vacancy on Labor, Commerce, and Industry as the chairman. And I then filled that slot about a week ago. A week ago, one day, I became chairman of Labor, Commerce, and Industry. And so that's really important for our region, because it covers occupational licensure, the sort of regulations, the fees, the laws that are associated with professions and occupations. It also deals with commerce, how you go about promoting South Carolina as a place for economic development, industry regulation. So the task here is going to be to make sure we don't have any unnecessary regulations that can constitute drag. Now you need some regulation. I'm not an anarchist. I understand that you need to have some. But what you tend to find over time is that regulations will accrete and become obsolete, but they remain on the books because no one pays any attention to them. So I'm going to go through systemically and look at the entire code, and on a revolving basis, take up occupations, licensures, industry regulations, to make sure that we've got regulations that are necessary to keep the public safe, but make sure there isn't any unnecessary drag on these industries as well. Because, South Carolina is in competition with 49 other states, and we want to make our state a place where industry wants to come, invest capital, and grow their business.
And that's one of the things that I've read a lot about is, your hairdressers and some states just have ridiculous regulation of those industries that make it almost impossible for someone to get a job, which can be a good paying job with their own business. And other states, they have no laws, which is also dangerous to the community. So I think finding a balance between those two that allows local small business owners to be able to do those types of trades and get those licensures in a fair manner is probably really important to Beaufort County.
What I've seen in this regard, Chris, over the years is that industry regulations never tend to decrease. They always accrete. There's always something added on top. another licensure requirement, another educational requirement, another fee that's required. Very rarely is there a concerted effort to try to pare those back to the level that's absolutely necessary and nothing more. That's what I plan to work on. And I want to be proactive as chairman of Labor, Commerce, and Industry. I don't want to just sit back and process any bill that somebody else decides to bring forward. I want to be proactive in terms of looking at the code and seeing what we can do to streamline things and make us more competitive.
All right. So let's talk about the port. I know you've worked on that. We've seen Savannah and Charleston being completely overrun and backlogged at this point. So how important is the Jasper Point, you think, in the strategic future for commerce kind of in this Charleston to Jacksonville region?
It's huge. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that it's already happening. It started happening about 4 or 5 years ago. Savannah port operations, if you think about their operations in terms of a circle with the Savannah River bisecting it, the half circle on the Georgia side has been completely built out. They don't have any room for distribution centers, logistics, warehouses, things of that nature. And so the other side of the semicircle, which is in southern Jasper County, that is being developed. You've got, hundreds of thousands, millions of square feet of industrial space that have been built. And so you see further and further southern Jasper County being integrated into port operations in Savannah. And having a deep water port at the mouth of the Savannah River in Jasper County is a logical extension of those ongoing efforts right now to integrate southern Jasper County into the Savannah orbit. So this is happening. There's every reason in the world for our area of the state, and when I say our area of the state, in this instance I'm referring to southern Jasper County, to have tremendous corporate investment. You've got access to dual rail, Norfolk Southern and CSX. You've got access to an airport. You've got access to a port. You've got an interstate system. You've got a tremendous quality of life in Beaufort County. I mean, all the things that companies look to decide where they want to invest. I see the next 10 years being our 10 years in the same way that the last 10 years have been for the greater Charleston area, Berkeley, Dorchester, and Charleston counties. And before that, you saw a lot of growth up in Greenville and Spartanburg County. This next 10 years, I think everything is aligned to make our area really grow economically. And so these poorer counties like Jasper and Colleton and Allendale, that was subject of a documentary a few years ago called The Corridor of Shame. That has now become the corridor of opportunity. You're actually seeing private capital, hundreds of millions of dollars being invested even now. Yep. But now let me point this out. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the pressure that brings to southern Beaufort County in terms of development. And if you look at southern Beaufort County now, it is rapidly developing. And I think if you look at the units that have been approved for development, either in development agreements or planning unit development agreements, if we build out all those already approved units, we're going to double the number of residences that are in southern Beaufort County. We cannot support that. I mean, our environmental system, our ecological system is too fragile. And if we're not careful, we're going to see southern Beaufort County end up looking like Mount Pleasant and just pavement everywhere. And we're going to lose the thing that brought a lot of us here to begin with. So on the one hand, while I'm working to promote economic growth in Jasper, Colleton, Hampton, those poorer counties, a bill that I got passed last year is called the Green Space Sales Tax. And so what it would do is allow county council to impose or submit to the people for a referendum a penny sales tax to raise money for the purpose of buying up open space, buying up development rights. That passed the Senate last year. I'm going to try to get it past the House early enough this session so that I can go to county council and get them to submit it to the voters for this November, because we're on the cusp of losing something that makes us very special. We can have it all. We can have the economic growth in these rural counties, and we can also maintain the environmental integrity of southern Beaufort County, but we have to be proactive. We have to be aggressive in that regard.
Okay. And I think with that expansion too, I think workforce housing is going to become a big issue as well as we move forward. I know at the county level, we're trying to work that where, we don't want I lived in DC for a while, and you grew up in Maryland, so your parents probably made the same thing, 2-hour commute to go 20 miles. Like, we don't want to see that either. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. And what you have right now are a lot of people traveling from some of these poorer counties. They get on the bus and they take an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to work. And so there is a comprehensive effort at both the municipal level and the county level with the assistance of the state to try to make it more affordable, to try to incentivize developers to have that workforce housing. But it's just a difficult task because you got a finite amount of land. and you got owners looking to maximize their profits. And so there's a balance there, and hopefully we can strike it.
So now with the infusion, setting federal politics aside, we have an infusion of infrastructure money. I think the state has a surplus this year.
Yeah.
So how do you view that helping with the infrastructure that's going to be needed to support the growth, both economically and residentially?
Well, the number one priority in that regard, and has been for years, is expanding I-95 from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction from the Georgia-South Carolina line northward. And right now, we've already got the money set aside to have it 3 lanes in each direction from the South Carolina Georgia line to exit 8, which is the 278 exit. Yeah. Hopefully, some of this federal infrastructure money that we have to authorize the expenditure of next year can be allocated to I-95 to do 2 things. One, to accelerate the timeline on the 3 laning from the line to exit 8, but also to further extend that up to the Walterboro exits. Now, you have a similar effort from North Carolina coming southward down I-95, but I'm focused on our neck of the woods here, focused on I-95 from that Georgia-South Carolina line to the Walterboro exits, because that's not only important for economic reasons, it's important for public safety, because that's the evacuation route for individuals in case of a hurricane. And so that's the number one priority. Second to that, though, there are other projects that I'm going and pitching for. Some of those transportation dollars that were appropriated by Congress that we have to authorize the expenditure of can go for rail and for aviation. I'd like to see a new terminal being built at the Hilton Head Airport. I would like to see the rail lines in southern Jasper County extended southward, down to Savannah and the Jasper Port to facilitate that development. I'd also like to see the network of roads that are in southern Jasper County that form that web that connect the warehouses and distribution centers in southern Jasper County to the port in Savannah. I want to see those roads upgraded in 2 lanes, maybe make them 4 lanes. Instead of having stop signs, having stoplights, putting shoulders. If you traveled in that area, you know what I'm talking about. It is very dangerous. And as economic development occurs, that dangerous situation is going to be exacerbated. The good news is we have a very strong legislative delegation down here. We've worked very closely with the Georgia Ports Authority, Jasper County, Hardeeville, Bluffton, Beaufort County, and identifying exactly what those infrastructure needs are. And we are speaking with one voice up there in Columbia in terms of where we think our share of those infrastructure dollars should be spent.
Okay. We're going to shift gears a little bit here. So we've seen representatives, we've seen people running for office. I think Nancy Mace, actually, Representative Mace floated the idea. Legalization of cannabis has been a national issue with many different positions and takes and varying levels of success across the United States. How do you see that for South Carolina? Is that something that South Carolinians can expect in the future or have open discussions about?
Okay, first of all, you have 36 states now that have legalized cannabis for medical purposes. You have a handful of states that have also legalized it for recreational purposes. I think South Carolina is in the former category. It's a conservative state. I think the South Carolinians want doctors to be able to authorize cannabis use by patients who those doctors think can benefit, but I don't think South Carolinians want recreational use. That's right. What poll after poll suggests. So what I've been working on is a very socially conservative, tightly regulated medical bill that will allow doctors to authorize cannabis use for patients with certain conditions for which there is medical evidence showing that cannabis can be medically efficacious. And so that's the bill that I've been working on, and that is the bill that will be first up for debate in January when we go back. And I think I can make the case. It's beyond any dispute right now that cannabis can be therapeutically beneficial to people with epilepsy or Crohn's disease or neurological disorders, chronic pain, where pharmaceuticals fail. And what we find in a lot of those conditions, particularly chronic pain, what's happening now are individuals are given opioids. And cannabis can be not only a better alternative in addressing the underlying causes of pain, but don't have the side effects that opioids do. So I'm ready to make my case, my colleagues in the Senate. This is something I've been working on for the past 8 years. Back in 2014, I got cannabis oil legalized for doctors to authorize people with epilepsy to use. And I've been trying to build on that ever since. But the important point I want to emphasize, Chris, is this is going to be a very narrow bill, a very tightly regulated bill, because while South Carolinians want to empower doctors, they don't want to authorize recreational use. And look, at the end of the day, I'm a representative of the people of South Carolina, and I want a bill that is passed that conforms with what the people of South Carolina want.
Yeah, it makes sense in the medical realm of, you're tying a doctor's hands, even though it's proven by medical associations across the country. That
Well, think how frustrating it is if you're a physician, and I know she's not going to mind me mentioning her name, but Margaret Richardson, a resident on Hilton Head, married to Scott Richardson, who used to hold my Senate seat. She suffers from a condition where at times her neurological system causes her face to feel as if there's a Bunsen burner on her face. Yeah. Pharmaceuticals, opioids don't help her, but one puff of cannabis makes that pain go away. We need to figure out a way for people like Margaret Richardson to get that medicine in their hands safely. I mean, right now she's forced to go out there and try to, get it any way she can. She doesn't know what she's getting. She doesn't know if it has adulterants. I mean, but we've got to figure out a legal, safe way for people like Margaret Richardson to get medicine in their hands that they desperately need. The doctors are frustrated. They want to help their patients, but we've got standing in the way this law that was passed back in 1970 because Richard Nixon was mad at a bunch of hippies up in Washington, D.C., and you're ignoring all the medical research. I mean, the National Academy of Sciences published a conclusive study in 2017 saying, look, it is beyond question. There is conclusive proof that cannabis can be efficacious in managing chronic pain. Why in the world are we standing in the way of what a doctor wants to give to a patient? Politics ought to play no role in that.
All right, one last hot button issue that I like to say, but with the expansion of online sports gambling, and even now the NFL, NHL, NBA all seem to have endorsed it. They now have partners. FanDuel, I've listened to a popular sports radio show. They even have controls within it to help fight addiction and those types of things. Do you see a future for online sports betting in South Carolina?
I think the task there, Chris, is to follow where the people are. Okay. I think a lot of times lawmakers tend to try to go ahead and do what they think is right. This is an area where we need to find out what the people of South Carolina want. What are they comfortable with? And very similar to medical cannabis and recreational cannabis. I mean, the reason my bill is so narrowly focused is I know what the people of South Carolina want. They said in poll after poll, they want to authorize doctors to provide medicine for patients who can need it, but they don't want recreational. So it's very important to kind of get that feedback loop with people. And so I think in the next few years, as you say, as the prevalence grows in other parts of the country, you're going to see South Carolinians kind of dialing into that issue and letting us know what they feel about it. And so I think it's our job as representatives and senators is to reflect what the will of the people want in that regard. And as you say, it's an evolving thing. I think it's something that will come to the fore sooner rather than later. But I'm going to be mindful as to what do the people of South Carolina want, and more particularly, what do my constituents want.
I think that's a theme that you've talked about this whole time is doing it right is better than just doing something, and you've talked about that between the commerce growth and the environment and even down to the cannabis and sports betting. It's been a theme in all of the discussion that we've had here today. It's hard
on these public policy issues to speak in absolutes because taking a position in one respect has implications in another respect. And as a legislator, what you need to do is think through as best you can, okay, what's not only the immediate consequence of what we're doing, but what are some of the collateral consequences, and how can we factor them into our decision-making process? So, it's a lot of times you watch cable news and you would think it's a simple matter of team red versus team blue. Things are much more nuanced than that. Things are much more complicated. At least they are at the state level where you're actually legislating and doing things that affect people's lives. And I do the best that I can to take in all the data, to think through all the consequences, and to come up with something that strikes the right balance. And I think that's what a good legislator should do.
Well, thank you so much today for your time. I know it's a busy time. Senate's starting to get back to work, and we're transitioning. Congratulations again on your committee assignment.
Appreciate
and I guess you're not up for election until 2024.
Not until 2024,
all right.
but
so everybody knows right now that this was truly what you think, and not just to get elected. So
it's wide open, and these are things that I've been saying for the past several years. Yeah. So I'm pretty consistent in that regard.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very
much.
much.
All right, sir.
Yep.
Good to see you.
That is all the time we have today on Coastline. I appreciate everyone that watched, and I appreciate Senator Davis for being able to sit down with us here today. And I hope you tune in again soon.
The County Channel is also available on video on demand. Go to BeaufortCountySC.gov, scroll down to Public Meetings, click Watch Now, and then click the Video on Demand button and select your program from the list.
Call the meeting to order.
If you'd like a DVD of this program, click on the link on the right and fill out the order form. And thank you for watching the County Channel.
A truckload of careers to explore. The Be Pro, Be Proud SC tractor trailer pulled into Whale Branch Early College High School, giving students the opportunity to learn hands-on about several different careers in the trade industry.
Behind the Be Pro, Be Proud SC program, we have this mobile facility that we take around the schools, middle schools and high schools, and expose these students into getting involved with skill trades.
The mobile workshop is equipped with simulators and virtual reality activities, showing students the types of skills they need for different careers.
I did the forklift. It was a little difficult because I had to figure out how to pull it up and put it down. Driving it is like you have to whip it harder than an actual car.
The truck driving. Oh yeah, I could do this for a living. So I tried it to see if I could do it, and I had like it. I didn't crash. It was easy. Like if you know how to drive, you could really do that, but like it's kind of hard at the same time because like the wheel is bigger and it shakes, and then you got to check your mirror every 10 seconds to see how it is.
While on the truck, students also learned about employment opportunities in the trades industry.
The more skills you have, the more money you're going to make, the more marketable you are, and the more valuable you are. A lot of these students and parents as well have no idea how much money you can make with these skilled trades. We've been pushed or told that we have to go to college to be successful, and that's not really the case these days. And we want to give this option, provide them this option, whether they take it and run with it or not. That's for them. They choose what they want to do as a career. For us, if they're interested, we tell them how.
The students enjoyed being on the truck and learning about different options they could pursue after high school.
I think it's a good idea and how they built the truck to show simulators inside so the students can know what they want to do when they get out of school, and how the average salary is and how much money they can be making for doing this as a job.
The event was hosted by the high school in the Career and Technical Education Department. At Whale Branch Early College High School, Ron Lopes, Beaufort County School District.